Bam! The Primal Swede here, and I thought I would share something about how the trip has been. Right? So I don't know what would be interesting, so I will try to speak from the heart instead. So now I have 2 days remaining, 2 shorter days, but still fairly long rides. So that's 150k, 2 days, 150k, 90 miles, and I have a final stretch which is 100k or 60 miles. So 3 days, but 2 days full of biking, right? Now, to compare, like the longest day I've done so far, or I've done on this trip, is 270 kilometers. I think that's like 150 miles. That was pretty rough. That was up in North Dakota. The shortest day I've done so far is about 60k, or I don't know, is that 40 miles or something? 30. When I crossed Lake Michigan by ferry, and I went on to the other side to Muskegon, and I biked another 60k. It's like a half day, right? So now something about this trip, because I see now that I will succeed in my mission and with my objective of bikepacking across America. I will succeed unless something unforeseen will happen, like my bike totally breaks down, like the frame breaks or snaps or whatever, right? Things can happen, but unless something serious happen, I will finish this adventure, which is sort of a very peculiar feeling. So the last few days, and I posted about this on my social media channels, there are like 3 phases. Like you have first phase number 1 is when you enter into a new challenge, into a new adventure, and you feel all of this excitement. You feel this is something new, I'm excited, I'm a bit tense, like how will it go? You're looking forward to it, you get into it, and you have like a first phase of lots of things going on, lots of things happening, and you find sort of an enjoyment in that, right? And then you have the second phase, and the second phase is more when you get into the flow, you get more into a routine, a daily routine. You know, okay, I wake up every day at 6, I start to bike at 7, and you do this, yada yada, until 6 p.m. And then you go find somewhere like a campsite, you eat, you sleep, and then it's kind of the same thing every single day, right? That phase is, all of these phases are equally important. They just kind of differ in nature, in a sense, right? They differ in there's a difference to them. And now this is the third phase, and the third phase is kind of at the end of the adventure, when you feel sort of, okay, I've done what I needed to do, now I realize I will actually succeed in my mission. So you start to think about what will happen afterwards, and your mind starts to wander into other things, but you still have a distance to go. You still haven't actually finished your mission, your challenge, your objective. You still have things to do, but your mind starts to wander, and you start to get a bit tired, because when you start to think about what will happen afterwards with, maybe work or business projects or meeting friends, you start to lose interest in what's going on at this very stage, right? In phase 3, you start to lose interest in the actual biking, and it starts to get kind of tedious. So now I'm in phase 3, and as I mentioned, I will do these like last 3 stretches, right? And now I kind of checked into this place fairly early. I found this place on Airbnb. It's like an old law firm. That's why I have all these law books and the skin chair, like the leather chair. So maybe it's a good idea to sort of summarize before I actually finish this thing how it's been, you know. And I think one of the biggest things that happened throughout this trip was those very first days, like the very first week when I had to leave the Mojave Desert and go up north to Billings. And I will be perfectly honest with you, I think that's important, that I was hesitating quite a lot. Like, should I actually go up to Billings? Because I know if I change decision too fast and just say, okay, let's go to Billings, Montana, and I skip the desert part, there is a risk that I will feel kind of I abandoned my idea. I will feel disappointed. Maybe when I reach New York, I will feel like I didn't do what I set out to do. So, is there some sort of a disappointment? Can I feel that? I feel that I had to make a choice, and I did what I could do, and I went up to Billings. So I'm happy with that choice. Otherwise, I couldn't continue. It was impossible. The extreme heat was just too much. And the experience itself, in going from LA to San Bernardino, crossing the mountains into the Mojave Desert and spending some time there, gave me lots of experience in how it can actually be in crossing a desert, and what I need to do maybe next time in order to be even more prepared for it. It also gave me an opportunity to meet another cyclist, MJ, who I met, and I made lots of posts, and I mentioned him before as well, which was a pleasure to meet someone else in a similar situation. And it also gave me this experience of traveling by Greyhound for 35 hours straight up north with 5 transits, sometimes in the middle of nowhere. Totally crazy. And it also kind of put everything into perspective. I think when you head out into an adventure, you need to be able to adapt and adjust and adapt, right? So you have this idea of doing something, and then in the middle of it, you have to change plans. You need to be prepared for that, whatever happens. Okay, I think that's quite important. And in that sense, I think I was very flexible. So when I entered Montana, Billings, and I traveled north, like the northern tier, that's what it's called. It's kind of a bike trail going up in the north. You can travel from west to east, or east to west, right? Then I had to come up with a totally new plan as well. Totally new plan on how to actually do this thing. I had no ride with GPS, I had no route plan, nothing. I had to rely on Google Maps and to some degree Strava, right? So that was very interesting. And then to just bike up there in the north, in North Dakota, kind of super straight roads for like 200k, 300k, you never really turn left or right. So all of that experience it's been quite extraordinary, I say. And then also something worth mentioning, when I entered Wisconsin and the Minnesota area, I left the Midwest and I entered kind of northeast, sort of. And it felt kind of, in a sense, like being back home, actually. With sort of like the town names, they had like Scandinavian origin. I passed Lindström. I stayed in a small tiny town called Stockholm, like the Swedish capital, right? And I found all these hills and forests, and sort of the environment itself resembled Scandinavia in a sense. So I found that was quite interesting and very familiar, and I felt more at ease and more at home in a sense. So that was a bit surprising to me. So those are some of the things I have experienced throughout this trip, right? And I met lots of people as well. So I will also share a bit about that as we move on, and I will write about it as well. I just thought I would share some of the highlights. So that's it for now. And tomorrow, these last 2 days, I will make sure, and I believe this is important, I will make sure to wake up early. Be serious about those 2 days and not be kind of lazy and kind of, it's just these 2 days and whatever happens. I will be strict, disciplined, and target oriented as I've been throughout this adventure. And I will start to properly relax and chill and recover and rest when I reach the finish goal in Manhattan, in Times Square, in New York City. And then I can truly celebrate. Stay strong.